The Steelers had multiple opportunities to draft Shedeur Sanders in the 2025 NFL Draft. Instead, they went with Will Howard later on in the NFL Draft. Shedeur Sanders is currently on the Cleveland Browns roster. I look at Shedeur Sanders. He would have been the perfect quarterback for the Steelers to develop behind Aaron Rodgers if he wants to sign. As I record this video, Aaron Rodgers is still a free agent. There's a lot of reports that are saying that Aaron Rodgers will eventually sign with this organization later in the offseason. But regardless, the Steelers had the opportunity after the third and fourth round to select Shedeur Sanders, and they didn't. And I believe that was a major mistake. I'm going to tell you why. This is no hate towards Will Howard. Will Howard has a prototypical size and the arm. He's wildly inaccurate. He came from a great system with The Ohio State University. For all the people that want to say, well, Shedeur Sanders was handed the job in high school, he was handed the job at the college level with Deion Sanders. Let's just compare Will Howard to Shedeur Sanders here. Will Howard transferred over to Ohio State, so the talent is there at a college level. But before he went to Ohio State, he was not a top quarterback in college. He goes over to Ohio State. They have talent everywhere. Travion Henderson went to the NFL high in the second round. Jenkins, he went to the NFL also. He's in this division with the Cleveland Browns. He had a top offensive line at the college level. He played with the best wide receiver in Jeremiah Smith. Emeka Egbuka was an amazing slot. He's similar to Jackson Smith-Njigba. He comes over from an amazing system. He had enough time inside the pocket. You look at how many times Will Howard got sacked with Ohio State. It was 14 times. One of the best offensive lines you can have. Ohio State spent a lot of money on those players in the NIL conversation, in the transfer portal, to bring in the right players to build around Will Howard, and the same with him. They gave him some money to transfer over. He's a big quarterback. But when was the last time we saw Coach Tomlin go out there and develop a quarterback that had accuracy issues? He couldn't even do that with Justin Fields. He yanked him out of the starting lineup and he went with Russell Wilson. And Justin Fields went 4-2 with this organization. And they're no longer on this roster. Coach Tomlin has never had to develop a quarterback because he always had Big Ben. Shedeur Sanders is a safer prospect than Will Howard because he's more accurate. You can look at the film. Shedeur Sanders was able to process at the line of scrimmage, run away from certain tacklers, and he doesn't have elite athleticism. I will give you that. Will Howard is a better athlete than Shedeur Sanders, but it takes more than just being an athlete at this position to succeed. I'm very disappointed in this franchise, and the only reason why I'm saying that the Steelers made a mistake, Shedeur Sanders had a lot of bad interviews, it seems like, with the New York Giants. He was very entitled, apparently. That's all the reports that are coming out. They went with Jackson Dart, so it's no reason to go out there and rehash that news. But even if he was having bad interviews with other teams, that's what's being reported. It's a reason why he slipped in the NFL draft. He had a great meeting, apparently, with the Steelers, with Coach Tomlin, with Omar Khan. The meeting lasts for 5 hours straight. Shedeur Sanders is in the airport doing an interview, and he's saying how much Coach Tomlin reminds him of his dad, that he would love to be a Steeler one day if they wanted to select him in the NFL draft. He had a positive meeting with this organization, and you can't use the excuse, well, they didn't want to deal with the outside noise. They didn't want to deal with him being dramatic and all the cameras that come with it. You're going after a 41-year-old Aaron Rodgers. This man was on a darkness retreat. He's come out in multiple interviews before, and he's rubbed people the wrong way. You say that you don't want to deal with controversy and distractions. That's what Aaron Rodgers is. And he's going to be a major distraction until he signs with this team. You have Cameron Hayward coming out and he's saying, hey, you either want to be a Steeler or you don't. The same with other players on this roster. That's how they feel about Aaron Rodgers. And I'm not saying that Shedeur Sanders comes in and he's a better quarterback than Aaron, but he's a safer bet right now than Will Howard. At least you can bring him in. You can gel him in with DK Metcalf, with George Pickens. And to go back to the conversation to why I believe Shedeur Sanders is a better prospect than Will Howard, he always had a terrible offensive line. The best offensive coach that coached him up was Pat Shurmur. Guess who coached up Will Howard his last season at Ohio State? Chip Kelly, who's a former head coach and offensive play caller in the NFL. And he currently just went back to the NFL with the Las Vegas Raiders. You look at Shedeur Sanders, the numbers he was able to put up year in and year out with bad offensive line play, and you can say it was weaker competition. have the same energy for other quarterbacks that we've seen go into the first round before. If Anthony Richardson could be a first round pick, so should Shedeur Sanders. And I understand intangibles, athleticism. That brings back up to that point. Just because you're a great athlete doesn't mean you're going to be great at that position. He's a great processor, and in terms of him pushing the football deep down the field, it was good enough at Colorado. I don't understand this. Can he play in cold weather thing? He did this at the college level at Colorado, just not for 1, but for 2 years, back to back. And he put up very good numbers. He was the best quarterback in the Big 12 last season. And he would have been the perfect fit for the Steelers. I know that Mike Tomlin, he's preaching, I want athleticism. I want a mobile quarterback. Have you seen Aaron Rodgers lately? Is he the most athletic, most mobile quarterback that you can have right now? Hell no. You can't sit on here on this app and tell me that Aaron Rodgers can make a lot of moves in space like how he used to in his early to mid to late 20s. He can't. And he's coming off a torn Achilles injury 2 years ago. I know that you want to have a quarterback that can move around and make more plays. Everyone is looking for the next Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. That's going to be hard to do. But you could have at least took a late round pick on Shedeur Sanders. It seems like the Steelers, they were never interested. They wanted to bring in Will Howard because he has a bigger arm and he's more of an athlete. But it takes more than that to be successful at this position. I look at Shedeur Sanders. He could have been a backup to Aaron Rodgers. You let him sit for a year or two, then you see what you have with him. That's why you have training camp and practice. And I don't trust Coach Tomlin with the quarterback position. Look at what he's done over the last few years since Big Ben retired. You bring in Mr. Trubisky. You started him over Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett was the better option. Kenny Pickett goes down with an injury. You have Mason Rudolph. You go back to Mr. Trubisky. That was terrible. You sit down Mr. Trubisky. Mason Rudolph comes in. He wins the last 3 games of the regular season. You make it to the NFL playoffs. Then Mason Rudolph, he goes over to the Tennessee Titans. You bring in Russell Wilson. You bring in Justin Fields. The way they treated Justin Fields, they treated him like he was the next Taysom Hill. You let him come in on 3rd down and short. Just run around and make plays for us, Justin. You're not good enough to pass. And they use him in very conservative ways. And if we're going off of rumors and reports, it was a lot of reports behind the scenes that Arthur Smith wanted to go with Justin Fields for the rest of the season instead of Russell Wilson. But Mike Tomlin said, I'll be damned. We have to go with Russ. He has never truly developed a quarterback that has had accuracy issues in the past. And maybe Shedeur Sanders turns out to not be a good quarterback in the NFL. That's a very good chance. Just because he was very good at college doesn't mean that he's going to be good at the NFL level. But at least you could have took a late round pick on him and not sacrificed much. The same thing you did with Will Howard, you could have done with Shedeur Sanders. That's all I'm saying here. I don't trust Coach Tomlin when it comes to the offensive end of the football. I don't trust him with the signal callers. You sign Aaron Rodgers, let's knock on wood. If he goes down, your backup quarterback's Mason Rudolph. You have Will Howard. And you have weapons in place, DK Metcalf, George Pickens, Caleb Johnson in the backfield now. I think he's going to be a tremendous running back with the Steelers. Jalen Warren, Kenneth Gainwell, a young offensive line. That's the thing with Shedeur Sanders. He will hold on to the football for too long at times, but he was able to get the football out at a quicker rate every single season, coming over from Jackson State those 2 years and in Colorado the last 2 years. And you give him better offensive line protection, you give him a true run game, he may be a very good, solid quarterback in the NFL, but instead now he's in this division. This is the same organization that passed on Lamar Jackson, just like everyone else. This is the same organization that passed on Jalen Hurts, just like everyone else. He slid to the 2nd round, Jalen Hurts. They had the opportunity to go out there and possibly bring in a young quarterback that could play right now, in my opinion. And maybe I'm missing the mark on this situation. And by the way, I love what the Steelers did in the NFL draft. I have an entire video about it by getting Harmon in the 1st round. Caleb Johnson, I was just bragging about him a couple of seconds ago. Jack Sawyer. They did a very good job in the NFL draft, but you had this positive meeting with Shedeur Sanders. There's a lot of reporters that came out and said potentially Shedeur Sanders could be a 1st round pick to the Steelers. But instead, we look at this quarterback position right now. You have Mason Rudolph, Skylar Thompson, Will Howard. None of those quarterbacks move the needle for me. And even if you do bring in Aaron Rodgers, I'll have a separate video on this. He's good enough to get you to a certain point, but you're still putting a Band-Aid on the quarterback position. And we can live in hypotheticals and say, well, what about next year's draft class, 2026? The draft is in the PA. in the Steelers' backyard. They have to draft a quarterback in the first round. They have so many compensatory picks. The one thing about this organization that I've seen over the last 10 to 15 years, as a matter of fact, since Coach Tomlin has been the head coach, since Bill Cowher stepped down, they never have a losing season, which is great to some. But at the same time, you're not bad enough to end up with a top pick. So that means that you have to trade up in the first round to select one of those quarterbacks. And even then, you're taking a shot into the dark and you're hoping that that quarterback that you select within the top 5 or within the top 10 can develop into being a true franchise guy. Now, the Steelers, they have the infrastructure there. As Arthur Smith, as an offensive coordinator, I have my gripes with him. The players, like I mentioned before, very good players there. Same with Calvin Austin III. Add him in that conversation and bring in Roman Wilson. I like their 4 wide receivers: Pickens, DK Metcalf, Roman Wilson, Calvin Austin III. So quarterbacks should be able to come in and throw the football all over the place, and they can help you develop. Look at what Sam Darnold just had with the Minnesota Vikings. Now, a lot of that was on coaching. Sam Darnold has a big arm, but they had Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ at the tight end spot. That's the way to build around a young quarterback, by giving them a lot of weapons here. I look at the Steelers. If you want to bring up the distraction thing one more time, this is the same coach, the same team that had Antonio Brown Facebook Live in the locker room. Coach Tomlin's cussing out the Patriots. Antonio Brown's in the locker room dancing Facebook Live. This is the same team that had Juju Smith-Schuster TikTok dancing on the logo. Coach Tomlin never came out once to say, you know what, let's shut that down, Juju. Juju did that on his own, reportedly. He has dealt with distractions before in his career, and that has never shied away from it. The one thing with Mike Tomlin, why so many people love him, they say the Tomlinisms. He'll come out with the great quotes. He makes people laugh. You want to run through a wall for him. But I look at Shedeur Sanders. He would have possibly been a very good option for the Steelers, and you could have got him late in the NFL draft for little to nothing. Didn't even have to trade up for him. And the Cleveland Browns traded up to jump over the Philadelphia Eagles. And I know it's a viral video that's going around. The general manager and the coach with the Cleveland Browns, they didn't look too excited to take Shedeur Sanders. There's a lot of reports that the owner came out and he said, you know what? You're going to take Shedeur Sanders whether you like it or not. They selected Dillon Gabriel in the 3rd round. But I stand on what I said a couple weeks ago, and I'm standing on what I said yesterday. There is no way in hell that Tyler Shutt, 25 years old, the man is older than me, 25 years old, has been in college for 7 years, has played with 3 different teams, is better than Shedeur Sanders. Dillon Gabriel, he's not better than Shedeur Sanders at the college level. Yes, he went to the college football playoffs. He got blasted by Ohio State. He's an undersized quarterback, and I really hate getting into this conversation to where I have to go out there and critique other quarterbacks. I'm just being truthful here. Dillon Gabriel went from UCF, Oklahoma, Oregon. He went to 3 schools to pan out. And we're crushing Shedeur Sanders for going to Jackson State, a HBCU, and transferring to Colorado. It's so many people that are saying, well, his record wasn't the best. Colorado was a terrible program. It was horrible. They won 1 game before Shedeur Sanders, the same with Deion Sanders and Travis Hunter. You can't use that excuse. It's a team game. We've had plenty of quarterbacks go into the first round, and their team didn't make the college football playoffs. They didn't even go to a bowl game, but the intangibles took them over the top. We have fell so in love with raw quarterbacks and those athletes, like Patrick Mahomes when he came out. There was so many questions. People were grilling Andy Reid. Let's not forget, Mitch Trubisky went over Deshaun Watson, and Mitch Trubisky went over Patrick Mahomes in that draft class. When Josh Allen was selected by the Buffalo Bills, many people were shocked. They said, hell no, you take a quarterback out of Wyoming? What the hell is this? They have different energy now. Shedeur Sanders was a top quarterback entering the NFL draft for a reason, especially in my opinion. You could say that he was handed the position. It is what it is at that standpoint. If that's how you feel, that's how you feel. No one's going to get that hatred out your heart. That's what you have in you. It is what it is. But to look at Shedeur Sanders and to say that a quarterback that had the passing numbers that he has was not good enough to be selected by the Steelers even late in the NFL draft says a lot about this organization. They're all in on Aaron Rodgers, but if this Aaron Rodgers thing doesn't work out, they have to turn, they have to pivot to someone else. And even if you do bring in Aaron Rodgers, he's not going to be the quarterback for the next 5 to 10 years. The man is 41 years old. So eventually, whether Coach Tomlin likes it or not, and the same with Omar Khan, you have to go out there and draft and develop a quarterback. I wish Will Howard nothing but the best. Maybe he goes into training camp. Maybe he shocks a lot of people, but he had a lot of misses with Ohio State. He was a very average college quarterback until the last 4 games of his career at the Ohio State University. They ran the football at a high degree with Junkins, with Travion Henderson. Then he was able to take those deep shots down the field. I will give him his credit. As the season progressed, he did get better, but he had an ugly loss against Michigan in the cold. So many people are saying, well, Shedeur Sanders can't throw on the road against the Steelers. He can't do this against the Baltimore Ravens. He can't do this against the Cleveland Browns. Once again, he played outside. He didn't play in a dome. Jared Goff had the same critiques about him. This man comes over. He plays in Detroit, plays in the dome. I've seen him play in cold weather. He can get the football out at a rate and get the football to his key wide receivers. I believe the Steelers made a huge mistake, but hey, what do I know? Let me know in the comment section below, did the Steelers make a mistake by not drafting Shedeur Sanders? If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, I want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for the video, guys. God bless. Peace.